Deborah Magaldi, there you are in the Long Beach area, saving kittens and cats, which you've been doing for quite a while with CatPAWS. I'm so glad you reached out and told me about the work you're doing because you're taking cats and kittens out of the shelters, which is different
Mhm.
than people taking them out of, I don't know, colonies or TNR. You're actually getting them out of the shelters where there's just too many of them, and it's hard for people to find them.
Yeah, that is correct. Yes.
So when you first started, were you just adopting one cat or kitten and thought, wait a minute, I can do more than this just one. Hang on.
Actually, it was a windy, twisty road,
Good. Tell the
as
road.
these
The road is always the interesting part.
as these things sometimes tend to be. The organization is called Helen Sanders CatPAWS, which was named predictably after a woman named Helen Sanders. And she actually started, you mentioned TNR, she actually started TNR back in like the 70s in the rocks in the jetty area where the
Yes.
breakwater is basically
Yes.
around Seal Beach and Long Beach to some extent, and where there was just feral cats at the time. We call them feral cats.
That's right.
We tend to call them community now, but just running wild, breeding unchecked. And she would trap them, get them fixed, and put them back, and then feed them, bring food to them. And they, through attrition, those colonies disappeared over the years and winnowed down to a very few, and then eventually none. And after she actually died in 2005. Some friends of hers started raising just a few $100 here and there to buy food for the remaining cats in those colonies still alive at the
Right.
time of her death. And it turned out that some of the caretakers, that some of those cats had kittens before they had gotten fixed. And so
Right.
the caretakers had those kittens in their houses, and those kittens needed to be adopted. So we formed a relationship with, at first, Petco, and got those cats adopted. And then we turned our focus really more toward the shelter help, because it became clear to us quickly that there a lot of kittens and cats were going into shelters, and if they were underage, which means they're not yet eating on their own, their prospects are very bleak because
That's
they
right.
need to be fed every 3 hours, really, through the night. Shelters typically are not open
That's
24/7.
right.
They don't have, that's just not feasible. If people brought in kittens and said, hey, I found a litter of kittens, and would dump them off at the shelter, and if
Oh,
those kittens
wow.
weren't picked up by a rescue, end of day generally meant end of kitten.
Wow.
So we turned our focus to trying to build a foster network and pull out those we could to try and help the local municipal and county shelters.
It's interesting. You wound up doing that because of your great success. You're one of those rare success stories because most TNR, from what I understand, research statistics, TNR people who trap, neuter, release, and then maintain a colony, and it gets smaller and smaller as there's fewer fertile cats, then I understand that some cats from away start to fill in the vacuum. But in your case, it actually came to an end. It was no longer a place
Yeah,
where came.
the colonies, the primary colony that Helen cared for over those years did actually, like I said, through
Yeah,
attrition,
yeah.
it disappeared. So the Seal Beach jetty, and now for good or for bad, is cat free.
No, it's
um,
for good, for
yeah,
everyone's sake.
yeah, it's
Because
for good.
it is for
Yeah,
good. It's a huge success story. Not many people are able to pull that off.
yeah, yeah.
So I really never stopped to think. I know that you're not supposed to take a litter of kittens away from their mama in the wild, could be because, and it never occurred to me, it's for the reason you just said. So if you take them to the shelter,
Mhm.
no one has enough staff other than good-hearted foster families like you have now to give them food even in the daylight hours when they're open. There aren't that
Mhm.
many hands. They're busy cleaning out cages, all the endless jobs that volunteers and staff have in a shelter. So when you said end of day, end of kittens, it didn't occur to me, and this is a really important thing for people to realize, don't bring a litter of kittens to a shelter. You're bringing them to their death. leave them with their mother, and
Mhm.
then contact a local cat rescue group, all of whom are on Facebook, and let them help you figure out, or let them take over the whole TNR
Mhm.
mystery, right? How to get the kittens neutered before they're 5 months old, as well as the
Yeah.
mom.
Yeah, there's actually charts now that fortunately that people are saying exactly that shelters will put out if you find kittens, and there's like a
Yes.
flow chart, do this, if this.
Yes.
Now, there are some situations where mom has been hit by a car or
Yes.
fallen victim to a coyote or for whatever reasons is not coming back. In those situations, intervention is required. And what we did about 10 years ago now, we started a program called the DIY Kitten Kit program.
Nice.
And what that does, because at the time, one of the shelters that we deal with primarily, and we're killing sadly, and nobody wanted this, about a
That's
thousand
right.
kittens a year.
Ouch.
And what we did out of the sense of we have to do something is we
Right.
put together a kit with formula and
Wow.
bottles and then the whole bit. It's a basic care kit. And we gave these to the shelter. And so that when people came in, hey, I found kittens, the shelter would say, this is what's going to happen to them.
Wow. The
And
hard truth.
unless you want to care for them, and if you do want to care for them, here's a kit of supplies to take care of them.
Wow.
And that would keep them out of the shelter so that at least it would give people an option, and it would tell people the truth. If you leave
Yes.
them here,
Yes.
you've got to tell people the truth a little bit, even if it's hard. And especially when it's hard. And if you leave them here, this is what's going to happen.
And because you're saying you, the person at the shelter who doesn't want to kill any more kittens, it's soul crushing for all the people involved on the
Mhm.
shelter end. But you're saying it to someone who's a very good-hearted Good Samaritan. They went out of their trouble, out of their way, and spent the time and the effort, went to a bit of trouble to get a box that could fit the kittens, catch the kittens, put them in there, drive to the shelter, which in Southern California could be hours in traffic, honestly, and
Mhm.
now you're there and you think, I've been a good Samaritan. And they have to tell you the truth so that you learn for the next time. And maybe you are a person who says, all right, for the next 3 weeks, my husband, my kids, my neighbor, my sister will all raise these kittens. And with any luck, maybe some of them get adopted by that very good Samaritan or one of
Mhm.
them, right? It's one
Yeah, a lot
less.
of times, and the idea too is that the shelter would keep in touch with them because you don't want those kittens. It's great if they adopt them, but also don't want those kittens going back out into the world unfixed,
Oh
making
my
more
God.
kittens.
Awful.
So you do have to close that loop a little bit.
Yes.
But like I said, it was an intervention program that diverted it several hundred that first year, actually. Not everyone could or would, but some people did. And it was a tactic to keep kittens out of the shelter and give them a chance because rescues can't necessarily take all of them. We can't take all of them.
Of course not.
Yeah, and so one of my core beliefs is the community has to be part of
Yes.
the solution. The community has to, first of all, know and understand the problem, right?
Right.
Most people don't think, oh, kittens, they must get adopted. Not if they're 1 week old and they need to be fed, they're not getting adopted.
And they need all their vaccines.
We have to tell people the problem and then offer them the opportunity to be part of the solution.
Yeah, I think it's really nice. And I think that anybody who would step up to just scoop them up, a hearted person
Mhm.
who doesn't know any better. They think I'm going to take them to the shelter where they know what
Yeah.
they're doing.
Yeah, it sounds reasonable.
Yeah, but it isn't reality.
Yeah.
So, where are things now? You've got kitten season upcoming. Let's just back up for a minute. Okay, I brought a box of 4 or 5 kittens. Okay, I'll do the DIY. I'll find some other people. They've been bottle fed long enough, they can eat solid food. Am I supposed to bring them back to the shelter where there's free or low cost spay neuter for a time?
At that point, once kittens are eating on their own, options open up and their prospects become much brighter. And in some shelters, and we kind of leave that up to the shelter and their community. And sometimes the shelter will say, sure, when they're weaned and eating on their own, bring them back, we can handle them. And then from there on, they go into the process. We also, because the foundational, I believe for years, the foundational problem is too many kittens.
Sure.
Okay, so one of the things that we've been working toward for years and finally brought to fruition in mid 2023 is starting a low and often no cost spay neuter program where our organization organizes, gets vets and vet techs and RVTs and all that. And we do and we partner sometimes with shelters and other organizations to do no cost often and low cost spay neuter. So that addresses the root cause of the problem.
Right. So after you've saved the kittens, now you have to make sure that kitten will.
All these years, every day, I get the emails from shelters. We just got kittens. We just got kittens. Can you take them? Can you take them? Can you take them? Sometimes we can take a few. But by the time those kittens get to that shelter, the problem has started so far upstream.
Yes.
The symptom. Okay, that's the symptom. And if we can save a few, if another rescue can save a few, yay. But that is not, the problem started far upstream. And it's with the cats out in the community that formerly called feral cats, right? Out there breeding. So we actually have in our spay neuter program, we have two sub programs within that program. And one is for community cats. Those are the ones that are being TNR'd. Or TNVR'd, actually, trapped, neuter, vaccinated, returned.
Good point.
So trappers bring them in traps, typically. They get fixed, they get vaccinated, they get ear tipped.
Yep.
And the trapper picks them back up and then takes them back to their location and cares for them. And then we also started an owned cat clinic to help people that just get their own cats fixed who might not otherwise be able to afford it. So we do that at very low and almost really no cost.
So you've continued to carry on this banner, even though she passed away in 2005. This is a long time later. You've become sophisticated. You've become proactive. You put the community in the name Community Cats. You've got a lot of humans involved.
There's a lot of humans, and we like to think it is full circle from Helen's vision, her trapping, and then, like I said,
that's right.
Focus to getting the cats out of shelters. But the root cause is always that there's just too many unwanted homeless kittens. So we've been trying to get the money, trying to get the infrastructure in place to come full circle back to that. How do we get fewer kittens?
And that really is the root question and the root problem. And you've been very successful once before. You ended the cat colony at the Long Beach Pier. So it can be done within a geographic area if everybody puts their minds to it and sticks with the plan.
And when we work with some very dedicated and committed trappers in both Orange County and also the Long Beach area that are working on whole colonies.
Wow.
Dozens of cats that we schedule appointments for as the cats are trapped. And they're working on getting dozens of cats, sometimes from little pockets within those geographic areas. So
so there's lots of little success stories that are going to follow from the big one.
We like to think that we know that there are fewer kittens out there because of our efforts since 2023. We know that, and we're just ramping up even more. We started with a mobile clinic, a trailer.
Wow.
Which is a beautiful trailer, actually. And then we opened a surgery suite about a year ago. So now we have a brick and mortar and the trailer both.
Wow. That's very impressive. So if anybody wants to help you in this effort, what's the way that they reach you if they're in the Orange County, Long Beach area?
Go to our website, which is Helen Sanders CatPAWS.com.
Okay. Helen Sanders CatPAWS.com. And anybody listening who's in that area, it'll make you feel good to do this. That's all I can say. There's not many ways we can impact the world in a positive way nowadays. and it feels
Yeah.
like everything's so out of control and
Yeah.
spinning around. You can save some kittens' lives, not just the ones you're saving, but the ones they're not going to create because they're
Mhm.
not going to be able to reproduce. And I just think it's a great way to create a human community, Deborah. And you
Mhm.
have created that over a long period of time. And the community cats have each other, but you have a human community of people who really have put so much time, money, effort, and blood, sweat, and tears into this, and I commend you for it, and all of
Thank
your
you.
fellow rescuers. But I think for other people to feel part of a do-good community on behalf of animals, it's boots on the ground or wherever you can meet the need. You can do the bottle feeding, but not the trapping, or vice versa. Or maybe you want to be there on the free or low-cost spay-neuter days. You've got this clinic. It's amazing what you've created. So there's a lot of opportunity for people of every kind of age and persuasion in terms of their cat love to join you. And I hope that more people will. It's wonderful what you've done and what you continue to do. So hats
And we
off to
we
you.
have a fabulous organization, incredible volunteers, and so many incredibly dedicated people and supporters and donors. It's a whole thing. It's
Very
just
impressive. And
yeah, and really the thanks and credit goes to that group of people always.
absolutely. And that more join just because strength in numbers. Thank you so much for reaching out to me and for helping all of these kittens to grow to be old, happy, fat cats without
Exactly.
babies. Take care and thanks
Thank
again.
you. Thank